I want you to look at these data points. 55% of Gen Z negotiate their job offers. For boomers, it's only 47. Gen Z also expects a 10% annual raise, even without a promotion. That's 42% higher than boomers expected when asked the same question. And I know what some of you are saying. Gen Z's entitled, they're lazy, and they don't deserve any of this shit. And if you're saying that, you're wrong. Because since 1979, worker productivity has gone up 61% while wages have only increased 17%. That's a 44-point gap. And that gap is why Gen Z will not work like boomers. Because when the rewards for working like that aren't there anymore, why would you work like a boomer did? And it all comes down to one mofo who just couldn't shut his mouth. But we'll get to him in a second, because first we actually have to understand why boomers had it so much better than any other generation. Because let's be honest, boomers had it easy. All you had to do was show up, be loyal, work hard, and in the end, that company, whoever you worked for, would take care of your retirement. You were set. You had an actual safety net. You had a pension. You had labor unions. Your wages actually kept up with inflation. And all you had to get was a high school degree to get a house, to take care of your family, to have retirement, to have a good life. From 1950 to 1973, U.S. productivity nearly doubled. Real wages grew alongside it. In the 1980s, around 60% of the private sector had a defined pension. The longer you stayed, the more loyal you were, the harder you worked, the better the reward was in the end. Companies gave you an incentive to actually work harder, to stay at their company. The work you did was not just some work. It was you building your future. And because of all of this, boomers became the wealthiest generation that we have ever seen. They make up only about 20% of the population for real, but they've accumulated over 50% of the wealth in America. That is a very different picture than what Gen Z is looking at right now. And what's funny is most people think that boomers work harder. Yeah, that's fucking wrong, okay? The thing that made the workforce work for boomers don't exist for anybody else. But all of this didn't happen by accident. It only took one mofo with a loud ass mouth to change the entire job system as we know it. And his name is Milton Fredman. Milton Fredman wrote a little essay called "The Social Responsibility of Business is to Increase Its Profits." And if it was a conversation between Milton and the companies, this is how it would have went. Yo, you see your employees over there? Yeah, what about them? Fuck them. Like literally? No, bro, what? No, figuratively. Look, you know how you give your employees pensions? Yeah, pensions. You give them labor unions. You make sure their wages keep up with inflation. Yeah, bro, get to the point. What are you talking about? Yeah, fuck that shit. You don't need to do any of that shit no more. You know what you need to do? You need to give their incentives, that money that you pay your employees, to your shareholders so you can make more money and make more profit. Well, keeping a good employee is great for the company. We have somebody that's loyal, they'll work hard, they'll produce for the company for years and years to come. And in the end, we'll make sure that we take care of their retirement for all the good hard work that they did. Bro, it doesn't matter. Who cares if they're loyal? Who cares? You can just hire somebody else, okay? What? Let me ask you this. What do people need to live? Money? Money. Who gives them the money? Companies? You do, stupid. So if you take the incentives and the money you get and you give it to your shareholders so you can make more profit, guess what? Workers still have to come to work because they still need money to fucking live. So it doesn't matter if you take away their incentives. It doesn't fucking matter. They still need you. You don't need them. They need you. Comprende? Do you understand? Can't lie. I would like a little bit more money. More money sounds nice. So what you need to do is you need to fuck them and give that money to your shareholders to make more profit, bro. Trust me. Okay, I'm Milton Fredman. I know what I'm talking about. Do that shit, you gonna make a lot more money. You feel me? You know what? You right. Fuck them. Fuck them. Fuck them. The funny thing is companies wanted to hear this already. All they needed was Milton to write this little essay to open his big ass mouth, and they ran with it immediately. And so pensions went from being 60% in private sector to around 15%. Labor unions also saw a huge member decline as well because companies just got rid of labor unions, and wages started to not keep up with inflation and keep up with productivity. What's interesting is companies never announce this. They still want you to work hard to be a team player and to stay loyal, because maybe you'll move up in the company. They want you to do all of this bullshit, but removed every reward that boomers got when they did the same thing. Yeah, okay, yeah, suck my dick. That's why productivity is up 61% and wages are only up 17%. And of course, boomers didn't feel this because they were already locked in. They already bought their house. Their pensions were locked. They were fine. And what's funny is boomers got all the wealth from a system that actually worked. And then Milton had to open his fucking mouth and that system was gone. And everybody else, Gen Z and every generation after, is going to pay the repercussions for that. The scariest and most important part of this video is the economic data that proves this. In 1980, the median household price was $50,000 to $60,000. Adjusted for inflation, that should be around $290,000 today. You know what the median household price is right now? Around $400,000. Inflation isn't the problem. The problem is companies not paying people enough to keep up with inflation. This is why people don't stay at jobs anymore. In 1983, the average job tenure was over a decade. Today, it's 4 years. For Gen Z specifically, it's 1 to 2 years. The only way to survive right now is to job hop. You're not going to get a promotion. You're not going to get a raise. To get that promotion, to get a raise, to be able to live, to be able to support a family, to be able to retire, is to job hop every 1 to 2 years so that you get an increase in compensation. So that you might be able to retire for real. Okay? Might. No guarantee. Might. This is all because companies are disloyal. This is like a bad relationship. You know, you have that one toxic partner, the other one's loyal. Why would you stay loyal as well? Then everybody just gets toxic. That's what's happening. Everybody's cheating. Nobody's staying loyal in this relationship. That's why 55% of Gen Z negotiate their job offers. And it pays out. 79% of people who negotiate their job offers in Gen Z get a better offer. And the data just keeps getting worse. Since 1979, the top 1% captured 38% of all income growth. The bottom 90%, the actual working class, only captured 15%. So for every dollar of new wealth that was created in the American economy, the bottom 90%, the actual working class, only got 15 cents out of that dollar. This one's funny. This one's gonna make you laugh. You know how boomers are considered the hardworking generation like we talked about? Well, Gen Z currently works 1,791 hours per year. Boomers at the same age only worked 1,678 hours per year. So Gen Z is working more hours, they're getting paid less, has less incentives, doesn't have a pension, no labor unions, their wages aren't keeping up with inflation, but they're still working more hours. This is why Gen Z refuses to work like boomers. They don't get anything that boomers got, and they're still expected to work like boomers. Why would I work like a boomer worked when I get nothing that they get in the future? I get no security, I get no benefits, I get no pensions, I get nothing like that. I'm not going to stay loyal. I'm going to job hop. I'm going to find a company that'll give me a better income. And when that company doesn't give me any incentives, I'm going to job hop again. This is the only way that Gen Z will be able to survive, by job hopping. There's no more loyalty. Why would I be loyal when you're not going to give me the incentives, everything that you gave boomers, when I don't get a pension, when you're not going to take care of my retirement, when you're not going to give me political power within the company through a labor union? Why would I stay loyal to that company? So when people say Gen Z refuse to work like boomers, they're getting something wrong. It's not that Gen Z can't work like boomers, won't work as hard as boomers. It's that Gen Z doesn't see any trust from the company to its employees. So it's not going to work like a boomer did because there's no trust involved. If you've resonated with this video, I encourage you to like, maybe subscribe, and share it to somebody that you think would benefit from it. Look, man. This is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Boomers didn't work harder than anybody. Gen Z's not lazy. The system has just changed. All because fucking big ass mouth Milton Fredman opened his yompers, his chompers, his yappers, and told companies, hey, fuck employees, okay? The trade-off was simple for boomers. Yes, sure, they worked hard, long hours. They did hard labor work. They worked in factories. They worked more with their hands compared to how we work today. But they got a payoff in the end. It was worth it. You work hard, you give your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, you stay loyal to a company, and that company is going to take care of your retirement. It's going to be able to buy you a house, support your family, have a retirement, have a safety net once you get older. These things are gone. They don't exist anymore.